come from a land down under, women go and men wonder.
This is the last part of the series about our journey from Europe to Australia and back with our Mooney. This installment covers the flight from Singapore to Java, along the Lesser Sunda Islands, to East Timor and finally to Darwin, the capital of Australia's Northern Territory. If you have missed out on the previous parts about our journey from Germany to Singapore, check them out.
And November 228 Romeo Mike, 86 cleared, I was ready to copy.
November 228 Romeo Mike, ready to copy.
November 228 Romeo Mike, cleared to Surabaya via Reggie, Ponjo, Shenzhen, flight plan route, flight level 170, scope 0117.
November 228 Romeo Mike is clear to destination Surabaya via Renchi, Poncho, Sierra Juliet, flight plan route, flight level 170 and squawk 0117.
And November 228 Romeo Mike, prepare correct, I was ready for taxi, expect runway 21 for departure.
November 228 Romeo Mike, the startup is approved and we'll call you back for taxi and runway will be 21. Indonesia. It was a dream of ours to fly there with our Mooney. We had visited this beautiful country with its 17,000 islands and countless volcanoes many times in the last 30 years, even spent our honeymoon there. Climbing volcanoes, enjoying Indonesian hospitality, romantic sunsets and great food. Indonesia would have been a destination of its own right for us, but it's not an easy country to fly in with a small plane. Avgas is very hard to get, and it's just too complicated and expensive to fly to all the places that would be worth exploring. Nevertheless, we intended to do 3 stops in Indonesia, even though one would have been sufficient to get fuel if we wanted to rush it. Actually, we had planned to stop in Pekanbaru on Sumatra Island. From there we would fly to Jakarta and then continue to Surabaya. There is no Avgas in Pekanbaru, but that would have been okay if we could get it in Jakarta. However, only a few days before the flight out of Singapore, we learned that we would not get fuel in Jakarta. Surabaya was the only place with Avgas in the whole country. This made it impossible to do these stops as planned, so we decided to fly directly to Surabaya from Singapore. We also would have to wait an additional 5 days for the fuel. We would spend this time in East Java, but we weren't ready to give up on all these Indonesian stops. We decided to do an additional stop on the island of Lombok on the way to Dili in East Timor. As we had traveled in Indonesia so many times, we picked up some Indonesian, just enough for basic conversation or negotiate with local people for services like boat charter, guides for mountains where necessary and so on. So it was another dream for us to greet ATC in Indonesian on the radio.
Sunda Tower, selamat siang, November 228 Romeo Mike. ILS approach runway 10.
Selamat siang, November 228 Romeo Mike, continue bridge unit 1011.
Continue approach unit 1011, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November 228 Romeo Mike, wind calm, runway 10, clear to land.
10 clear to land, November 228 Romeo Mike.
Gear is down, mixture is rich, full forward, flaps are full and airspeed 85.
India, avoid runway, zero direction 10, clear for takeoff from Sierra, approach November Papa 2.
Papa Kilo Zulu, clear takeoff, Papa Kilo,
Sorry, am I okay?
Jatuh cinta lagi, mengapa hatiku bergetar kembali?
70.
Our letter 680.
20. 10. 5. 2. 1.
Kasih namanya Tokyo Zogamania kita jalan.
160 line up run November Romeo Mike Ticket November 2 contact ground 18 minor.
Okay. Headsets off? Here.
Bergetar kembali.
East Java isn't as packed with tourist attractions as other parts of Indonesia, but there is one really famous site, Mount Bromo. The volcanic massif attracts visitors from all over the world for the spectacular views at sunrise. We had booked a jeep to take us to the lookout with our accommodation close to the crater very early the next morning. After sunrise, we walked to the crater for close-up views. We had organized a rental car for a few days, what wasn't easy as they usually come with a sopir, which is a driver, and we didn't want that. However, after some research we were able to find one. We drove around East Java for a few days and enjoyed our beloved Indonesia with its people, nature, temples and food. Traffic was always chaotic in Indonesia, but it changed a lot in the last 10 years. The small public buses, called Bemo in Indonesian, almost disappeared because most people have a motorcycle now. Left-hand traffic in Indonesia doesn't mean motorcycles cannot pop up on any side of your car. It is not as rough as, for example, in India. Still, self-driving in Indonesia is not for the faint-hearted. On our flight from Surabaya to Lombok, we had the first of the spectacular views we had been looking forward to so much. Mount Baluran on Java's northeastern tip and Mount Agung on Bali Island.
November 228 Romeo Mike, request position.
November 228 Romeo Mike, approaching low loop 4,500 feet.
Take off this memory report when runway inside.
Vehicle November Romeo Mike.
Lombok, the eastern neighbor of Bali, is less known but actively promoted as number 2 tourist destination of Indonesia. It has lots of beautiful tropical beaches and is dominated by massive Rinjani volcano in the north. Weather was poor when we approached the island, so we couldn't see it.
November 228 Romeo Mike, runway inside, 5 miles out.
Continue approach.
Continue.
November 228 Romeo Mike, wind 31004 knot, KNH 1013, runway wet, runway 13, clear to land.
13, clear to land, November 228 Romeo Mike.
Romeo Mike, landing time 0051, keep rolling, second flight taxiway Charlie to parking stand number 20.
Hello, selamat pagi. We spent 2 days in a resort at Senggigi Beach to relax a bit and enjoy Indonesia again. As mentioned before, we managed to stop in Jakarta on our way back to Europe and refuel there. Although it was rainy season in February, we had a lot of fun exploring places, some of which we had already visited more than 30 years ago. A lot has changed over time. Many of the peaceful neighborhoods with the little winding alleys are gone. Some can still be found though, and this is where people are as lovely as ever and where lively night markets spring up. And of course, Indonesian food is still delicious. Jakarta is Indonesia's capital and largest city with around 10 million inhabitants and a total of 30 million in Greater Jakarta on Java Island. It suffers from tremendous social, ecological and infrastructural problems. In fact, the situation is considered that dire that Indonesian government is building an entirely new capital in the jungle of Borneo. Jakarta is a huge metropolis and very impressive from the air. Even in a plane it takes quite a while to leave it behind when flying away. Back to our flight to Australia in November. From Lombok we flew all along the Lesser Sunda Islands to Dili in East Timor and enjoyed some great views. Many years ago we had climbed quite a number of the volcanoes we now flew along. It was great fun trying to identify them from the air. Some were easy though, starting with Mount Rinjani on Lombok Island, then Mount Tambora on Sumbawa Island. Between Sumbawa and Flores we came across Komodo Island, famous for its dragons. Flores is a rugged island with magnificent landscapes. Mount Inerie in the south wasn't that easy to spot, and we didn't find Kilimutu at all. Heading further east we approached Timor Island. The western half of Timor belongs to Indonesia, while the eastern half of the island is an independent state with its capital Dili.
November 228 Romeo Mike, we are ready for the approach.
November 228 Romeo Mike, clear, Rampi Zulu 08, report Delta Lima 725.
Cleared for the RNP Zulu, runway 08, will go November 228 Romeo Mike. Dili Tower, November 228 Romeo Mike, RNP Zulu, runway 08.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Dili Tower. Noted inside, continue approach, report final.
Continue approach, full report final, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November 228 Romeo Mike, have inside, check wind 030 degrees 10 knots, runway 08, clear to land.
Clear to land 08, November 228 Romeo Mike.
East Timor, also known as Timor-Leste, used to be a Portuguese colony and gained its independence in 1975, but shortly after it was invaded by Indonesia, leading to a brutal occupation that lasted until 1999. Following a UN-sponsored referendum in which the East Timorese overwhelmingly voted for independence, the area suffered from a period of violence, but international intervention eventually helped restore order. East Timor officially became an independent nation on May 20, 2002, and has since been working to build its political and economic systems. We spent 2 relaxing nights in Dili at the beachside hotel. On our non-flying day, we did a very interesting city tour with 2 young and really funny female guides. We learned a lot about East Timor's recent history, the languages and culture. Finally, here we are, crossing the Timor Sea on the way from Dili to Darwin at flight level 170. After 6 weeks of travels with lots of delays caused by various issues and lots of new impressions from countries known and unknown to us, this was the last flight of the journey down to Oz. Entering Australia with a small plane requires some preparation. Rules are strict, and although it's not mandatory, we contracted handling, just to ease the formalities at our arrival in the country. The handling agent briefed us in advance and sent us all the forms that have to be filled out beforehand. Moreover, he made sure everything was in place when we arrived. But back to Dili. As always, we tried to get an early start and were already at the airport when it opened at 7 a.m. local time. We cleared customs and immigration in no time, walked over to our little Mooney, and here we already have startup approval.
Clear!
One of the required formalities had to happen now. The aircraft has to be sprayed before departing to Oz. Australian authorities are trying hard to stop invasive species from entering the country. The procedure is called disinsection, and a filled and signed disinsection certificate has to be sent prior to the flight. After landing, you must not open the window or door before you are asked to do so by an official. You have to hand over the empty spray can for inspection, and only then you are allowed to exit the plane.
November 228 Romeo Mike, runway 08 cleared for takeoff, contact approach.
November 228 Romeo Mike, 08 cleared for takeoff, and will contact approach.
Earth gear up.
Approach, good morning, November 228 Romeo Mike, passing 1000 feet, climbing flight level 170.
November 228 Romeo Mike, copy, continue climb to flight level 170. When report estimate time started.
November 228 Romeo Mike, continue climb flight level 170 and stand by. November 228 Romeo Mike, estimating total time 2320.
November 228 Romeo Mike, copy, started 20.
As ATC does not have radar in this region, they ask for positions and estimates frequently to be able to separate traffic. Also, this controller apparently wanted to hand us over to Brisbane Center as soon as possible.
November 228 Romeo Mike, delay approach. Report position.
November 228 Romeo Mike, approaching focus, passing 10,000 feet, climbing level 170.
November 228 Romeo Mike, copy. Try to contact Brisbane, report established.
Same frequency Romeo Mike.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Brisbane frequency HF 6556 and VHF 118.15.
118.15, try to establish contact and will report back. Romeo Mike.
Delay approach. November 228 Romeo Mike, delay approach.
November 228 Romeo Mike, go ahead.
November 228 Romeo Mike, do you use both HF and VHF?
Negative HF, use VHF, and we have a satellite phone. November Romeo Mike.
Confirm VHF.
Affirm VHF.
Delay approach, copy.
We had lost radio contact with Dili approach before we could confirm that we are in contact with Brisbane Center. Another pilot gave relay for us and then asked to talk a bit on 12345.
751, you guys heading for Darwin?
Affirm, heading for Darwin and pass position Podot, now inbound Donya, flight level 170.
Nice one. Where have you guys come from?
We're German, Romeo Mike.
How fantastic. Have you got accommodation in Darwin? Are you spending the night there?
Yeah, we have booked a hotel in Darwin. It's called Capitanos, and we are on a Mooney. I don't know if you know this type, and we are in a Mooney club, and we contacted the Australian Mooney club, and they are very welcoming.
Very good. I've got about 600 hours flying the old M20J.
Ah, das ist ja lustig. Ja.
That's funny, Romeo Mike.
Roger. We'll catch you in Darwin. Safe flight.
We didn't know at the time, but we would enjoy Australian friendliness and hospitality for more than 2 months now.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Roger, have your start clearance when you're ready.
November 228 Romeo Mike, ready to copy.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Donya 1 Alpha arrival, runway 11, maintain flight level 170.
Sonia 1 Alpha arrival, runway 11 and maintain levels 170, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November 228 Romeo Mike, contact Darwin approach 134.1, g'day.
134.1, November 228 Romeo Mike, g'day.
Stations Darwin, winds 290 degrees 7 knots, expect runway 29.
Oh, drehen Sie um.
Yep.
Darwin approach, good morning, November 228 Romeo Mike, descending flight level 120, Sonia 1 Alpha arrival.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Darwin approach, g'day. We're just changing to runway 29 of the wind 280 degrees at 7 knots. Advise preferred approach for runway 29.
November 228 Romeo Mike, confirm, expect visual approach runway 29.
November 228 Romeo Mike, the cloud is quite low. If you prefer an instrument approach, we can plan for that, or we can get you down visual advice.
Visual approach 29 would be fine for us, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November 228 Romeo Mike, copy, cancel, start, turn left heading 120, descend to 9,000, QNH 1010.
Left heading 120, descend 9,000 feet on QNH 1010, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November Romeo Mike, descend to 3,000.
Descend altitude 3,000 feet, November 228 Romeo Mike.
November Romeo Mike, turn right heading 145.
Right heading 145, November Romeo Mike.
Darwin approach, g'day, top end 415 in receipt of Juliet, descending flight 120 and requesting a localizer Zulu runway 29 to the circling minimum.
November Romeo Mike, resume navigation, position 10 miles northeast of Darwin. Cleared visual approach via 10 miles straight in final runway 29. At 10 miles, contact tower 133.1.
Cleared visual approach runway 29 at 10 miles out, contact tower 133.1, November Romeo Mike.
November Romeo Mike, cleared visual approach via 10 mile final.
Cleared visual via 10 miles final, November Romeo Mike. Darwin Tower, good morning, November 228 Romeo Mike, visual approach 29 via 10 miles final.
November 228 Romeo Mike, Darwin Tower, g'day. November Romeo Mike, runway 29 clear to land.
29 clear to land, November Romeo Mike.
Do you come from a land down under? Where women go and men wonder. Can't you hear the thunder?
Ist Darwin? Mixture? Ist rich. Ja, voll forward. Flaps? Full. Und Airspeed. Bock auch.
Buying bread from a man in Brussels. He was 6'4" and full of muscle. I said, do you speak my language? He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. And he said, I come from a land down under. Read us slow and mention Can you hear the thunder?
Darwin Tower, good morning, November 228 Romeo Mike, located to runway 29 via taxiway 3.
November 228 Romeo Mike, around today. For the southern GA, taxi via Victor, which is straight ahead.
Victor, straight ahead.
Taxi via Victor, straight ahead, November 228 Romeo Mike.
Okay. Ich die Tür aufmachen, ich weiß. Kein Fenster, keine Tür. Headsets auf. Kannst du ausmachen.
With our handling agent Rob, everything went smoothly and quickly. The after-landing beer in a pub close to our hotel was unforgettable. In the evening we had dinner and celebrated the arrival down under. A dream had come true. This is the end of the series on our journey from Europe to Australia. But stay tuned. More videos will come up about flying in Australia.